Hi, it's Miss Misery. I'm here to tell you the story about the first time my children were taken from CPS. Now, it starts out with my children, my very precocious children. The two younger ones had gotten into some medicine that my older son had taken because he had mental problems and everything like that, and behavioral problems. Well, we had a morning routine of where they got up every morning, and in the fridge I had bowls of cereal with little cups of milk next to them where they could get up by themselves, and within 15 minutes I would be up. Now, they had a area rug in front of the television where they could watch cartoons while they were eating. And normally everything went fine. Everything went smooth, you know. Like I said, the two younger ones would get up okay. I might have to wake up the older one with me, or he would get up on his own too. But the thing is I am not a morning person at all. So it would take me a minute to gather my senses and everything, and that's why I had this little morning routine going. But it was never more than 15 minutes that my kids were up and then I was up. These kids were not super young, okay? 6, 9, and then the toddler. He was super young. He was 2 years old. But I had a 6-year-old that would get up with him, and he was very, good with his younger brother. 99.9% of the time, it was fine. Well, this one morning, they decided to, I'd say 10 minutes into them being up, they had eaten their cereal really quick. They got bored of cartoons. They spider monkey climbed onto my refrigerator, got way to the back, got into a medicine box that I had for my older child. Now, the medicine that they got into were patches, okay? So they thought they were stickers. And I think they knew they were medicine, but they didn't know the severity of what could happen if they left them on. So by the time I got up with my older child, like I said, they'd probably only been messing with this stuff for less than 5 minutes or so. I got in there, I saw what was going on. I immediately grabbed my children, took all the patches off them, stuck them back to the plastic that they were supposed to be on, and then took them and put them in the bathtub and scrubbed them, called poison control, and then I called a doctor, then I called a pharmacist also. They all told me that if they hadn't been on for 45 minutes or more, that more than likely I was in the clear. And my doctor didn't call CPS or anything like that. It wasn't, he felt like I dealt with the situation very well. So, I'm sorry, my eyes are watering. I'm not crying, my eyes are watering, but it happens every time I put makeup on. That's why you always see me rubbing my eyes. Anyways, I need to get some allergy Visine. But anyways, so about a month had went by. Now, I had workers in the house 4 times a week, 2 different workers, 4 to 6 hours a day, helping me out with my older son due to his behavioral and mental problems. He had a school psychiatrist, a school psychologist, a regular psychologist, and a regular psychiatrist. Well, one day I was at work, and my mom watched my children while I was at work. And my oldest son had a psychiatry appointment, so she took him. She told the psychiatrist about this story, about my children getting into this medication of my son's. and he's a mandated reporter. He had to call CPS. Well, when CPS showed up, it was less than a week after Christmas. Well, no, it was about a week after Christmas. It was the 30th of December. And I hadn't really cleaned up all that much. We had gotten Adopt an Angel that year, which means a family that has enough wealth to donate gifts to another family does so. So from the front door all the way into my kitchen area was gifts and wrapping paper and so on and so forth. And for a few days I had allowed my children to play with their new toys. They'd gotten bikes, they'd gotten Game Boys, they'd gotten all kinds of gifts. So I really, didn't feel the need to clean up since it was mostly just paper. I mean, of course I kept up with the normal cleaning of the dishes and the vacuuming of the floor that I could see, underneath the toys and the wrapping paper and stuff like that they were still playing with also, and the boxes that they were playing with. Well, the only thing that was really awry and really messed up was the fact that I had a laundry jungle going on in my hallway. I had a washer and dryer in my hallway, and I had allowed it to get out of control. Now, I did drink every evening. But most of the time, my mother was there. And I didn't drink on the weekends when I was alone with my children. I didn't do drugs at the time. I'm not saying I've never had a drug problem. I will get into that. But I did not do drugs at the time. I was not being promiscuous at the time. I did not have a boyfriend at the time. So on and so forth. Anyways, CPS came to the door and they saw the mess behind me. And they're like, oh my God. And so they jumped to conclusions that it was a dirty, disgusting house for one. And the call that they had gotten in was not just one phone call. I found out that there was some vendetta calls from some nasty little girls that down the street that didn't like me. And they were saying some awful things about me. They were saying that I was sleeping with guys in front of my children openly. No. Okay, the only sex I've ever had while a child is in the room was while they were, less than 6 months old, and they were in their crib, and me and my husband or my boyfriend were under blankets, and it was like in the middle of the night, and the child was asleep. And I'm sure that a lot of people have done that. That is not crazy, but I have never in my life gotten down and dirty in front of my kids. But anyways, that hadn't even really come up because I didn't let him in. I got an attitude and I didn't let him in. But I kind of knew that they were going to come back because they said they were going to. But I didn't know they were going to come back to take my kids. But I set in motion for my children to not be at the house when they came back. I was going to have my youngest go stay with his father. I was going to have my two oldest go stay with my dad. And I was going to have my middle son go stay with my mom or my aunt. Well, I was trying to get all of this situated. My mom was at the house the very next day. They showed up with police officers, okay? Now, here's where it gets really fucked up and just really just not cool, okay? They came in the house, and the police officers are there only to protect the CPS workers and protect the situation so it doesn't get out of control and it doesn't get violent. The only thing that they're supposed to know, if it's in the case file, is if I'm a violent person and if I have attacked police officers or CPS workers before. They're not supposed to know case specifics at all. But they sent out a maintenance worker, and if you don't know what a maintenance worker is, it's somebody that works with you on a daily, weekly, monthly basis. They're not someone that's supposed to come out on a emergency call. Emergency calls are supposed to be dealt with emergent workers who know what they're doing and who know the protocol. Well, this lady did not know the protocol. This lady did not know what she was doing. She made a lot of assumptions. She did a lot of things that were wrong. She told the cops things that they shouldn't have known. The cops told me, well, if you hadn't been sleeping with a bunch of guys in front of your kids, then this wouldn't be happening. And I'm like, what? What are you talking about? And look at your child. He's running around in a t-shirt and an underwear. I was trying to, or a diaper, I can't remember. I was trying to potty train him. He was 2 years old. You know, that's what almost everybody does. I see this, you know, like millionaires with their babies that they're trying to potty train, and they're in just, excuse me, a little t-shirt and their pull-ups or their diaper or their underwear. So, yeah, this was crazy. They called me a bad mom. They did all kinds of things that were just out of control. And when I said, I was sitting there crying, and I asked if I could hug my child, they're like, yeah, whatever, you know. And so they let me hug him, and then I'm like, can I put his little clothes on? And they're like, hurry up. And so I was trying to put his little, another shirt on him and some little pants. And all of a sudden, the CPS worker just starts trying to wrench him out of my arms. And my mom, like, flips out. And she goes to try to, like, be like, no, what are you doing? And the cop checks her with his arm, like, and throws her to the couch. Okay, it was a ridiculous scene. My son was screaming and crying. It was horrible. I was devastated. I mean, devastated. Now, like I said, I take responsibility for this. Not yet, because that's like a but. Like I'm trying to, like, excuse something. As you are hearing, though, there is things that were done wrong. And when they went and talked to my children, they found out that a lot of this stuff was crap. And that a lot of stuff that the worker did was crap. So they stamped my case sensitive, and usually this information is public knowledge. Well, not mine. You can go to Ventura County, California and look up my case. It's stamped sensitive, and it's stamped sensitive because they screwed up. And I ended up getting my kids back before I finished my classes. I ended up getting my kids back before a lot of things, okay? Because they know they screwed up. But the most messed up thing is they took my oldest two off the street in this wagon, you know, that they had my son Christian in, and they're like, we're a CPS worker, we have your little brother, we're taking you, blah, blah, blah. Well, my sons got in the car because they saw Christian in there. Well, what if this person was lying and they had me and my mom duct taped up in the, you know, house, and they were kidnapper, weirdo child molesters and child killers, and they just, you tell your kids not to get into cars that they don't know. The kids should have ran to the house, you know. They should have allowed the kids to come to the house and say goodbye, and allow me to say, yes, you have to go with these people. They did not allow that. I just think that there was so many things that were just wrong that they did on their part. And also, it is so fucked up because they literally take your kids, make you pay child support, and then give you a court date and no advocate. That caseworker, and you don't get a caseworker because you don't have your kids with you. Okay? And it's supposed to be reunification. You are left completely by yourself, you know? At that point, I did start screwing up, and it did take me a little longer than it could have. But pretty much that's my story. And, you know, right after they took my son out of the house, I ran outside and I saw the car pulling away. And I saw all three of my kids looking at me. Well, not Christian, because he was in a car seat. But my other two kids looking at me like so confused and just so sad. And I just dropped to the ground on the sidewalk outside my house. And I could still hear my son crying. And I just dropped to the ground and just started crying. I mean, I couldn't, you know, articulate anything at that point. I was so upset that I don't remember the next few days. I really don't. And then when I went to the court date, it was very confusing. And like I said, there was no advocate for me other than my lawyer. I was completely left to figure it out myself. Now, I understand this is not exactly a thing that, you know, you should be prided for or anything like that. But you should be helped through it. They should walk you through the process. Another thing that they screwed up on was this. They said that I had no mental health care for my child. I had two people in the house, two different programs, a Genesis program and another program for, you know, mental health professionals, two psychiatrists, two psychologists. That was another reason why they had to stamp this case sensitive, because they knew they screwed up on that too. The cops actually said that too. You provide no mental health care for your oldest son, blah, blah, blah. And I'm just like, dude, you shouldn't even know any of this. The caseworker was not supposed to allow them to read the case file, and she did. And that was part of her job, was to not let them do that. Anyways, like I said, that's my story. As I always say, Heidi-ho there, gotta go there. Don't get into too much tomfuckery, sorry. Don't get into too much tomfuckery tonight. Have a great time, and I love you all, and just learn from my stories, you know. If you have somebody like my mom who's not the most common-sensed person, let them know that what a mandated reporter is. And, you know, also keep your house nice. I mean, I could have cleaned it up the very next day, and I didn't. I should have done that laundry, but I didn't. I shouldn't have been drinking at night with the kids in the house, even if my mom was there, but I did. So these are the reasons that my kids were taken, that I feel are, and also, the medication patches on my children, you know. Those are the reasons that I take responsibility for. Now, the other stuff, take it with a grain of salt. Take it how you want. If you still want to hate me and you still want to say, hey, look, fuck you, you know what, you got your kids taking you a piece of shit, that's fine, but this is 100% truthful, and it's my story, and that's that. And it was very tragic, and it was way more tragic for my children, and I understand that, and that is why it's a tragic story time. It's not my tragedy, it's their tragedy. And I just can't be more humiliated, embarrassed, and disgusted with myself about this happening. I don't know when I'm going to film the next one. Probably tomorrow, because I'm losing light. As you can see, I've always had my hair blonde. It was just up. But I cut my hair. I hope you guys like it. Anyways, I'm still giving out $10 Amazon gift cards for the first 10 subscribers who leave their email address in the comments. You have to leave your email address in the comment, or else I don't know who to send the Amazon gift card to. So anyways, I love you all, and goodbye. Peace out.